welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago.
Happy Friday, guys, and I'm here with my wonderful and beautiful co-host, Mac Daddy, or Gray Skeptic, or as I call, Mac. My Mac.
And we're both here with Nacho Witness behind the scenes.
Who is, we should say, brought to you by Nacho Witness via Australia, which I have been reading a lot about. Very, very interesting stuff.
Just all of Australia?
Yeah, just, curious.
Are you starting to believe that it exists or what?
I am actually starting to believe it exists, yes.
One of those people. Did you get into QAnon this week too? Come on, Christy.
No. No. I like the Aboriginal cultures that they have, that they were able to preserve. Just, really interesting things. You guys know me. I like to learn. And so, yeah, it's nothing that I'm going to be like reporting on unless someone suggests it. Any of our viewers, of course, you guys know, can suggest that Christy does a show on something that you guys would like. So if you would like me to do a whole bunch of research on something and then present it to you, never ever feel afraid to suggest, because I would definitely do that for you and it would be my pleasure. But Australia, it was just I was looking at coral and how it's bleaching and falling, and I ended up in Australia, and it's just it's a really big, I mean, I knew it was big, but it's massive. It's a massive island. Yeah. And there's all kinds of different agricultures. Like there's different, same with us, in the United States of America, we have places that are cold and it's the same, but it's at the bottom. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. I think it's so cool that not only do we know people that live there, but one of our dear friends lives there. And the show is brought to you by that dear friend. So good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
How about the news this week, Mac?
Oh my gosh. Actually, I haven't kept up on it as much as I wanted to. There's probably a lot I don't know. I know that Biden seems to be pulling us out of Yemen. Like, yeah, and it seems like no strings attached. Is that right? Like he's actually pulling us out. But so far it looks good, right?
It does. I mean, it's the right moral, ethical thing to do. Being there at all is deplorable. So yeah. What they need is humanitarian help, not funding of militias or trying to overthrow governments or making the people so miserable that no. And you got to understand, even if we didn't press that joystick button, because that's how we do wars now, from a game console, just about. Even if we as a nation and our military are not pressing those buttons to bomb Yemeni people do not know that. What they do know is after a wreckage of a bomb, those bomb pieces that are laying about say made in the USA, made at Raytheon, made, so to them, the United States just bombed them. Doesn't matter. We're complicit. And I'd have to agree. So yes.
And people wonder why people.
I don't want to say cynical. I'm going to use skeptical. Biden says things all the time, and he has his entire career that fit the moment, that satisfy that moment, that the answer that people want to hear in that moment, but he doesn't follow through with policy. So I would like to see this, prove me wrong, Biden, show me that we're getting out of there, and not only getting out of there, but go back to the Geneva Convention where we help them rebuild.
Yeah, pretty much. Just make good choices, right? This is a good choice, right? We try and be fair here on the show. We don't really like Biden. When he does good things, we will point it out, just like we've always done. Duh. So, but yeah, so this looks like a good thing. I don't know if that's news you're referring to when you first said, "What about that news this week?"
Well, all of
that's the
it. I mean, it just keeps coming and coming.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she got stripped of her committee assignments.
Whew.
That was
okay.
was,
So the libertarian part of me, because I do have a significant part of my ideology that is that, although I don't believe taxes are theft, just the left libertarian, and that I'm like, I don't think anything should be stripped of anybody immediately hearing that news. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I don't like her. I actually loathe her. And then going into it and what these positions entitle her to have an opinion and actually make choices on, yeah, no, she should not have that power. She should not have that power. If she cannot understand that there are not Jewish lasers in the sky, sorry, I'm trying to be serious. Jewish lasers in the sky? No, I can't be serious.
You got to be careful of those.
You guys understand that the Jewish people on this planet make like 0.02 or 0.2% of the world's population, right? I'm not saying they do not wield and hold significant power. They do, because they're Yahweh's chosen people. But
Are they? Because I heard that that was someone else.
Come on.
Depends on who you ask.
No, see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Marjorie Greene. It does not. Not everyone can have their own facts. Or I hate that saying. Thanks for sharing your truth. Now, I get it. Everybody has their own truth, but when it comes to the factual data, there is the factual data and your interpretation of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad we agree on that. Most people that have who understand how logic follows, and they get that too. I'm just terrified that she got the spot, that she got any spot in our government. Yeah. It just
it's pretty crazy. She and this isn't the only thing that needs to be pointed out, I get, but I do find it pretty appalling. The stuff that was shared on the Senate floor with her, with the picture of her pointing like an automatic weapon at the squad, saying the squad's worst nightmare, and that was like part of her campaign. Just like, ugh.
Yes.
And then people wonder.
Did you see her pretty much give a lap dance to a cardboard cutout of Trump?
No, I didn't.
I'll send it to you. Not only does she reach behind to rub all over the crotch of Trump, let's say this part is the area of the crotch, she's like stroking it on the cardboard. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's,
I bet.
I watched it 4 times because I bet.
I bet Trump watched that, grabbed a Time magazine, and slapped himself in the face with it.
Yeah, or he just told his wife to shut up and turn the lights off. I'm pretending. Can you say thing like where we go one, we go all, and say it without an accent? I'm trying something right now.
You're not. So yeah, there's just she is quite the human being. I hear that she did retract, or she supposedly changed her stance on Sandy Hook being
after she followed them around town, harassing them.
Yeah, harassing the parents.
Grieving parents, grieving students. She's just a.
So, what do you think? Because this is a real representation of what I said that I advocate for. I agree with, to a point, that we need to have people in Congress who represent the craziest of our fucking people, because we're supposed to have a representative democracy, right? A represented government, Congress. And she represents people. And I think we need her there to represent people who are there, because you can't, I mean, we can ignore people we don't agree with.
Right.
But that's just kind of playing make-believe in reality.
It is, because they do exist. And I do think that the good thing about her actually being democratically elected was that people who had no idea about any of that do now. You know, about QAnon. There were still people that are learning that QAnon is an actual thing that people believe without any evidence. And because of her craziness and being elected, she has been able to, or the situation has been able to shine a light on this, and people who wouldn't have even heard about it, now it's mainstream. And thanks, Marjorie.
Yeah, so I I would like to point out that the opposing argument to this is that when you debate very bad ideas, you are giving them credence,
Yes.
acting like they are debatable, or giving them power by giving them a platform. And I think that is, I don't think it's a not valid argument, right? I think it is valid. But that doesn't mean it's also not valid to say you need to fight bad ideas with good ideas, right? And by doing that, you are acknowledging that these bad ideas exist. But when you ignore them, it's kind of like you're pretending the bad ideas don't exist, and hoping that since you're pretending that they don't exist, and ignoring them, they'll just go away. And I get the hope that comes with that, but I don't think it's just very viable in the reality that we have.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a fix, you know?
No.
The person you're lying to will eventually get sick of it and go somewhere else to talk, or go somewhere quieter. And those ideas will grow somewhere else. If you have them on a bigger stage, you have the chance to make a mockery of very bad ideas on a big stage. And that's good. And I know Ken Ham, I've heard, may or may not have debated Bill Nye the Science Guy one time. And still brings it up on the daily. But
because it gave him like status.
Yeah, it did.
Bill Nye is world renowned, a science communicator, and his level of integrity is here.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Ham believes that kangaroos hopped all the way across the ocean, 2 by 2.
Leap continents in a single bound.
And dinosaurs and Jesus, they were together. I mean, people think it was a donkey that Jesus rode, but it was actually T-Rex. So, so by putting someone like him on the stage with someone who is, respected and has integrity, you're right. It gives them unearned integrity. And certain things should not be debated. They just shouldn't. Like flat Earth, I don't think they should be debated. I think that it should be a conversation. If someone does happen to believe that, then, and they want to come on and have a debate, I think it would be the intellectual community's almost responsibility to say, I will come on, but not to debate. You can ask me questions. I will bring receipts. I will bring, the textbooks. I will bring, let's work this out. And if it takes 3 or 4 conversations to get done, wonderful. And even if that person still believes it, I would bet, money that people that showed up to watch it that believed it were able to get out of it because of it. So these things are important to talk about, even if they're so silly.
Would you like to see a flat earther in Congress, Christy?
I think after I got done crying for the loss of contemporary modern
Let's say PewDiePie.
life, no, actually, still I wouldn't. I would never like to see that. No, I think that there are basic things that someone needs.
I want that kind of cringe.
Yes, I'm not saying there needs to be a text. You have to pass this in order, but you gotta understand reality in order to be a senator, I think. And I don't know how we would go about that, how we would set that up, what kind of it has to be better than man, woman, person, TV, elephant, or whatever it was that Trump has to be better than that. So no flurfers for me.
No flurpers?
No flurfers. Mm-mm. Your eyes look very pretty tonight.
Only 2/3.
I think it's the dark blue shirt you have on. But yeah, your eyes look amazing.
Oh, why, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, really deep tonight.
I didn't even do anything to him. This time.
I was born this way.
Just as a fun fact, 66% of millennials, in a survey, this is a YouGov poll of 8,215 U.S. adults aging 18 to 24. 66% of them believed the Earth is round. So 34% of them did not. Which makes me think maybe we just need one flat earther in Congress.
Oh my gosh.
Just saying, we don't need to discuss it anymore. There's just a little food for thought. Happy Friday. Thanks for coming, y'all. All right, first topic of the night.
Who says progress has to move forward?
Right? Who says?
We're more inclusive government. Backwards.
Okay, so we have Gamestock.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down Wall Street. Medicine go down Wall Street. Medicine go down. How's that medicine taste, Wall Street?
Wall Street. Oh my gosh, yes.
Like they just cannot handle any peasant. Like the peasants aren't smart enough to play the same exact game that they're playing. And when they do and win at it, oh, we need a regulations immediately. We cannot have the regular people doing
also a bailout. Also a bailout. Yeah, right? Because anyone who makes a bad bet in America, everyone deserves a bailout. Especially billionaires.
Seems like it's only the billionaires, though.
Socialism for the rich, anyone?
Yes. Subsidies.
Yeah. So if you guys do live under a rock, let me
recap. The bugs for us.
Yeah, say hello to the grub from Timon and Pumbaa. The GameStop story, again, if you live under a rock, is connected to the stock market. It wasn't just GameStop, it was AMC theaters, it was Bed Bath and Beyond, and a few other companies, mostly brick and mortar companies.
Right.
And if you live under not brick and mortar rocks, that just means companies with buildings that aren't really online so much. So places, shops with places.
Yeah.
And yeah. And what a group on Reddit called Wall Street Bets.
How great is that?
It's pretty great.
Just the name, because the name alone sticks it to them, because that's what it is.
Wall Street Bet.
It's a casino, if you will, to bet with other people's money, and the only way you can play is if you have enough to play, to pay to play. Yeah.
It's a little bit like roulette, except you can manipulate the game.
That's what we found out. Yes, apparently when the peasants start to win, they stop everything. Oh wait, no, they didn't. Only for the peasants. Everyone else was still able to trade. So there's that. And if that doesn't say everything, if that doesn't show you that the whole game is a farce, a Ponzi scheme, then you're not paying attention, because it's been eye-opening. I've learned more about how the stock market works in the last 3.5 weeks. You guys know about a year ago I started learning all I could on the economy, just class after class, and economic this and the history of it, which was, history is my thing. So I was like, wait, there's history of it? Let me get into that. So I've been able to tie all this together, and if Wall Street's doing good or bad, this is what I learned. If Wall Street's doing great, that really doesn't say anything about the average person. But if Wall Street is doing bad, it means the average person is about to get fucked without any lube. Like in 2007 and 2008, all those subprime mortgages, they were able to make trillions off of that, because what happened was people got kicked out of their homes because they couldn't pay, and then these people came in and bought up not just one or two here. I have no problem with having a couple houses that you rent out, or even a few houses that you rent out, but I'm talking like 25 houses in this state, 34 in this one, 72 in this one, just buying them all up. And then instead of selling them at decent prices for people to live in, they chose to rent them. So now they have they didn't get in trouble for doing all of these horrible things, and then the bubble, they got bailed out, and then with that money they bought their own stocks back and bought up a whole bunch of property, all these houses foreclosed on, and then mortgage, everyone knows, is less expensive than rent. However, if you buy up a whole bunch of houses in a neighborhood where people were paying $200 to $500 in mortgage because they've been there for decades and decades, well, then you kick them out. You rehab the house just barely, just enough so curb appeal or whatever, and bring things up to date. You're going to take that house that the family that had been living there for 30 years was paying, $300 or $400, maybe even $500 a month for mortgage, and you're going to rent it out at $1,800 to $2,000 a month. It's just criminal. It's criminal, and it's disgusting. And that's how gentrification happens, because who can afford that? None of the people that grew up in that neighborhood. They're all forced out. And the people that still reside there, now property taxes just went up. They can't afford the property taxes. So guess what? They get foreclosed on. It's just this circle
Class warfare
of
at its best.
Yes.
Warfare at its best.
Yes. And we need to, as humanists, really stress, this is so important. Okay. It is not race or religion or tribalism. That's what they want us to think. And I know that whole they, who are they, and it's scary. I'm talking about the ruling class. I'm talking about the way the system's set up. The system is set up so that we fight within each other instead of punching up. And if we, the people, could look past our differences and see what we have in common, which is way more than we'll ever have in common with the ruling class, and we're able to see this as what Mac just said, class warfare, we can really make a difference. And it's going to take a lot of work, but I am determined before I leave this planet and go back to being the beautiful stardust I was before. I want to see that happen. I do. I'm not naive to think that there could be a world where class doesn't exist. Of course, that's utopia. It's not reality. However, I do like how a lot of the Scandinavian countries have made it so that there are no extremely wealthy, there's no, $172 billion in their bank account, but they also don't have extreme poverty. I agree with that. A mixed economy with strong safety nets and free education from preschool to graduate school to your doctorate. All of it, education and knowledge should be something that a nation says we're the best at. I would be so proud to be the best at science, to be the best at math, to be the best at reading. We're like number 36 when it comes to education, guys.
That sounds good. That's fine. Sorry, I got my education here.
Yeah. I got
higher number, the better.
I do believe in humans, and I believe that if people's basic needs were met, like I said, I'm not naive. There's always going to be the one crazy person. There's always going to be people that are going to do bad no matter what. It's a very small percentage. But I do believe in people. And if their basic needs were met, they're going to choose to do the right thing and pass that on. We have data that shows it. I think that people are ready for that. I'm ready for it. Mac's ready for it. That's kind of one of the reasons that LEAH exists. This is a place for people who want to invest in each other, to care about each other, to hey, how are you doing? Just be the tiniest little humanist things that you could do to help create a community where, as long as the end goal is what we all are trying to get to, we can put our biases or our disagreements or our different beliefs aside and work towards this. And I think that that is attainable and doable in our lifetime. I do.
Yeah.
And then Wall Street, one more thing.
Yes, there.
In your face.
Yeah, it's been pretty great. I know that the stock has dropped like 72% in the last 2 days, and before that, like 80%, and before that, like it's been dropping, but it was up at what, like more than $400 a stock.
Right. And have you guys seen the people who have posted about things they were able to accomplish? Like one person, they were about to have to put their dog down. They invested in the Gamestock and a few other things and made enough money to have the surgery for their dog. Another one was I wasn't able to, I was about to be homeless, and I was all of a sudden, they invested in this and were able to not only pay first, last, and security. I mean, there's just all these stories of how this little thing that happened reaped positive benefits for people. I paid off my student loan. One person said, I have no financial needs. I wanted to be a part of it because I believed in it. And I'm giving all that they made, I think it was like $64,000, to indigenous needs in this country. Like just beautiful people doing beautiful things with money. I love the whole story. Yeah. And on every cable news channel was somebody from the private sector talking about how we need new regulations. This cannot happen. Nobody should be able to shut down or bankrupt a company. And I'm just like, really? Really? We'll see about that because that's what you do.
Yeah.
So
I meant no one but us.
yeah, of course.
And that's how we make a
We're
living.
too stupid to understand how it works, so we shouldn't be able to do any of what they're doing.
Yeah. The this goes back to just basic wealth and equality, which you already talked about, and that in our unfettered capitalist kind of state, we need limits. We need wealth limits because these people who gained that money that someone else lost, they spent it. They spent that money. When you spend money, it goes back into the economy, and it is taxed over and over and over again, and it is recycled. Money should be recycled, right?
Yeah, what do the wealthy do when they win millions
They
and millions?
hoard it. They save it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And if I were to hoard 1,000,000 cats, what would happen?
Nothing. Nothing would happen to
Well,
those.
probably I would be fined. I would be on the news and I would probably lose my right to have any more animals. However, you can hoard millions and millions of dollars in an offshore account and it's not legal or illegal.
Just so you know,
The parts that are illegal that they do, nobody does anything about them because the watchers on the wall are part of the game. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
yeah, and I would like to make a quick correction here because you said cats and I heard caps, and I went straight to Fallout and bottle caps. So yeah, sorry.
I'm like Fallout. Fallout is a game, or
yeah, it's a game.
Band, Fallout Boys.
Both.
Give me a break.
No, sorry. No, Fallout, and I'll say this because it makes it relevant what I had thought and why I said nothing would happen to the cats. The caps is like money. The bottle caps are currency in Fallout. It's a post-apocalyptic nuclear like thing happened in like the 50s or whatever. I haven't actually played the game. Sorry, people who like
I'm not cool enough to know.
I'm botching it, but I'm trying to just educate Christy on like the premise. All right, so
Christy needs all the help she can get when it comes to
tase me, bro.
like this.
So the bottle caps are basically the currency. Like some people have cash, like you can find cash in the game, but it's like worthless. But the bottle caps is like the currency that you use in the game. So my mind went straight there. Like what would happen if I like saved up 1,000,000 bottle caps, and I'm still thinking currency and bottle caps. Because when rich people save money, what happens to that money? Nothing. It's just sucked out of the economy. Right? We want people to spend money, and they say rich people who come on MSNBC and Fox News, they act like if we give more money to poor people, all they're going to do is spend it on stupid shit. That's how we keep the economy going. We need people to spend money on garbage, on stupid shit, on everything. Right? We need people to spend things on video games. Because they create jobs.
Yes, they do.
We need people to spend money on, I don't even want to say it, on that kid slime stuff. Like Nickelodeon fucking Gak.
Look, I could squeeze it and
that dumb shit. Get a kid.
Squishy stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah, squishy stuff, because it creates jobs and it keeps the economy going.
Let's see.
That's a healthy capitalist system. And we don't have that. I don't even like capitalism. But if you want a good, healthy capitalist system, that's what you gotta do.
Yeah,
that's what you gotta do. These capitalists say the opposite so they can keep more of the money.
Right. The rules, there are two different sets of rules. There
are two different sets of rules.
And there's the rules for the people who are smart enough to participate in Wall Street, who are smart enough to understand how things work. And some group of people on Wall Street bets and Reddit getting over on them. I mean, the audacity, these people, I'm sure you've seen some of it, they're just beside themselves. They immediately want regulations put on so that it's regular people can't just go on their own. They need to go through a broker or have to take some sort of sit down and learn and then take a test, make sure that, just they're terrified that now that this has happened, that there will be more like this. And maybe there will, or maybe it was just a one-off. I just totally popped my dinghy and all this mush came out of it. Look, I just got totally.
Oh.
I got
seeded on show that.
And I smeared it on my face. So
oh God, Christy.
I'm gonna wash my hands real quick.
I'm gonna switch topics, Christy.
This story made me so mad.
You burst.
I did.
Okay, we're gonna switch topics. Left out. Oh my God. Sorry, she just creamed all over herself on camera. That was not usually acceptable. Welcome to LEAH. Okay, so yeah. Next doohickey thing. All right, so left out. I wanted to do this topic because there seems to be a large amount of censorship going on. And there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding going on. Overall, there's still a lot of infighting on the left. There's a lot of infighting that goes on the right too. Whatever. But I'm more worried about the left because I am on the left, right? So what I really want to talk about is the authoritarian aspect of politics and the no true Scotsman fallacy. And yeah, basically those two things. So strap in. I didn't bring a list of shows and Facebook pages of leftist channels and groups that have been taken down. I didn't care.
It's an easy Google. It's an easy Google. It's an easy Google. Yes, just Google leftist channels taken down and on YouTube. Or you can do across the board because there were also leftist pages and websites that were also taken down.
Yeah. And I'm trying to look at some that's really recent. First one I see is from Fox News, but that's the most recent. Oh no, the second most recent is also Fox News. Damn it. Ocasio-Cortez, but that's Fox News. God damn it. They're definitely covering it. And TASS, but I don't know what TASS is. I've never looked at TASS. Anyways, issue is Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Jack Dorsey, yeah, Dorsey, and whoever's in charge of YouTube. This is something that we don't want to see. This is what the right doesn't want to see. Is the government taking authoritarian measures to stifle free speech, right? You hear a lot about universities shutting down events because they don't want a speaker there. You hear a lot about right-wing groups being taken down on Facebook because of what's being talked about. They don't like it and they pull them down. And then they say that this is their free speech being stifled. And it's not, unless it's a university, then it kind of is. If it's, if it's not a private school, then absolutely. But private companies have the right to stifle your so-called free speech because they're private. Free speech is only protected, your free speech is only protected from the government. Check your constitution, please. So this is where the disconnect is. Christy and I believe, are both on the same page of these public platforms that are basically the town square should be also considered like that, like the government, because these are this is where people go to talk. This is basically the printing press to the everyday person. Twitter, right? You go on, you say what you want to say. And look, we have the Inquisitor, right? We have the National Examiner. We have like these fucking tabloid things. And some people believe we have Alex Jones and shit like that. And we don't, the government doesn't go after them to shut them down, right? Because you're allowed to say not right things, not correct things. You're allowed to lie, basically, without the government cracking down on you. It's free speech. Now, I think there should be social pressure, but I don't think social pressures should come from the richest among us and most powerful, because our government is run like an oligarchy. So if our government's run like an oligarchy, then the oligarchy that runs the government shouldn't stifle your free speech. Get what I'm saying here? Because it is, whether or not it's the government, it's authoritarian, right? This has always been my issue with libertarianism, is when you take away the government, okay, who's in charge? How do you place a check on them? We need a better government. We need a strong government that has
according to
kind of little to do. Hello, don't talk to me, phone. I didn't speak to you, woman. Only Christy's allowed to interrupt me.
Speak when spoken to, woman.
Thank you, Christy. So where the fuck was I? Basically, who watches the Watchmen, right? You need a government that does enough and doesn't fuck you over, right? We don't have that. But also, we don't really have a good check on private companies. Like, we kind of have the worst of both worlds right now. And we have to say that a lot because we have it on many fronts. But it's really annoying to me that that people are okay with censorship on on online platforms. Even just changing the algorithm so you don't come up as much. Like I'm kind of okay with like YouTube suggesting things to you because it sees the things you like and it sees what other people like that watch the same things you do. That's kind of smart. That's kind of cool. And you can just keep going, especially if you're just listening to music. That's kind of great. It's kind of really fantastic. You find a lot of groups, and if you like those, it just kind of adds to the algorithm. So someone else who likes a lot of the same music that you do can find the same new song you just did that you liked. It's neat. It's cool. There are good things to it, but when it comes to news and information, like there's definitely some gray area there. There's some issues, and it can be good to be suggested those kind of things, but if that's all you're suggested, right, that's also a problem. And if you're only suggested what YouTube thinks is true, on the other hand, that's also a big problem, right? Because MSNBC pushed Russiagate to no fucking end and still does. And if we're just trying to take non-true things down, why haven't we taken MSNBC off of YouTube? This is a Jimmy Dore argument. Again, trying to be honest when I use them. And Kyle Kalinske rightfully says that pretty much every major news outlet 20 years ago pushed the Afghan war. That war we were lied into and lied to stay into for 20 years. So, who gets to be the fucking arbiters of truth? This is a problem. It can't be an authoritarian fix because it really just isn't good for anyone. And the last thing I want to point out that I have an issue with, and I don't even remember what this was on. I'm pretty sure it was on this topic. Hi, Mr. B. Jimmy Dore.
He's on the table, guys. I'm listening to Mac, but I can't see the keyboard or anything. I just see a dog.
That's just me now.
Yeah.
So
I smell better.
Jimmy Dore had said that because everyone who kind of supports this censorship on the left, they're not really leftists.
I agree.
They're more righties.
Well, hello, Boops.
And hi, Christy. Oh, there you are.
Down. Nobody's gonna say anything. They're like, shh. All we see is the puppy. We promise.
Yeah, that's all. The only thing that you see, I'm sorry, still stuck on what Christy just said. All right. My issue with it, now that I can get back on topic, thank you, Christy, is that's not a left thing. That's an up-down thing. That's an authoritarian, libertarian thing. You can be for authoritarian censorship for private or for government means, basically. And it's not necessarily, that doesn't mean you're not on the left. I definitely disagree with Jimmy Dore on this one. That I think you can still be a leftist, obviously, and I mean you can be a leftist and completely disagree with abortions being fair, legal, and a right.
I would if someone does call themselves a true leftist and also wants to make abortion illegal, I would love to have a conversation with that person. I honestly would, because I don't think that they fundamentally understand a leftist position on freedom of each individual's body and to be able to control it is a very, very leftist ideology. It just is a freedom.
That is.
It's
That is,
confusing.
and I agree.
Now,
Yeah. I'm
that's
just saying
like
that
saying Kim Jong-un is on the left. Okay, you can say that because it says Democratic Republic of North Korea. He's not democratic, it's not a republic, and it's not communism, because the people just because you call yourself, I mean, Hitler called himself the National Socialist, but if you go in and read all of the things that he wrote, he said we chose the word socialist because think about the time. I mean, here in the States, we had Eugene Debs, our Socialist Party. We had a Communist Party. It was a popular movement because the Depression really starved a lot of people.
it was marketing.
Right. It's marketing. So just because you have a specific ideology in the title of what you want to call your nation, it does not mean that that's true. So.
Right. The point I'm trying to get to is that let's say there's 10 pillars to being a leftist, and you align with 9 of them, but one of them being the abortion issue you disagree on. That doesn't make you not a leftist. It puts you a little less left, right? It doesn't mean you're just not a leftist.
Yeah, and humans are complicated. Humans are complicated.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say.
Humans
People
are complicated. They can be as far left on all these things, but on this one, they're just not.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as pretty far left, but if I take the political compass test, I'm right next to Martin Luther King Jr., which I like. I like that a lot, but he's a super duper far left. I mean, he's left.
I'm to the left of Mike Gravel.
Okay.
I mean,
he's
just.
What?
I'm just to the left of Mike Gravel.
Isn't he like right where like Tulsi Gabbard was?
Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders are together.
Yeah, they're very, very close. Like,
but Mike Gravel is further to the left than and more libertarian than Bernie. So RB in our chat said, "Show us the puppers again." So he's laying in my lap, as you see. I didn't want to lift him up because he's just laying here like the little prince that he is, Mr. Bean. People want to see you, Mr. Bean, because you're so handsome.
So did you say you were just a little bit further left than Gravel, or right Gravel, where he is?
Yeah.
Right where he is?
To the left of Mike Gravel. Okay,
so like between him and Bernie Sanders, basically?
I would have to go check again. I just remember the one I was closest to was Mike Gravel, but I can pull it up pretty easy.
Okay.
Sometimes when you get that spot in your eye that itches and it feels so good, you have an eyegasm. That kind of just was happening right now. Okay, let's see.
Yes. From what I remember, I'm a little further left than Bernie Sanders and like just above Martin Luther King. From what I remember.
It might actually be on the...
So the compass test would put me just a little further left than Christy, if you can believe it.
That's amazing. You've come so far, my love.
So far left.
I know.
What the fuck?
I would have to, instead of spending my time right here while we're live looking for it, I'll post where I am. I took the entire test and took screenshots of the answers, and I thought it was pretty fascinating. I go to politicalcompass.com and take the test. Be as honest as you can. There's no right or wrong answers, and it's fascinating to see where everyone
Our
falls.
right answers.
Biden falls in the top right corner.
Yep.
Right next to authoritarian and conservative.
Yep.
There's that. Yeah, it's when I first learned that it's just not left. Here we talk about left and right in the States. I had to unlearn a lot of bad education and relearn how things actually work.
Yeah.
And that was one of them, that, there's authoritarian and libertarian and left and right. And I fall very much on the left libertarian side.
Yeah,
And
that's where I am.
yeah.
I don't see myself going to the right at all. I can see myself going further up on the authoritarian side sometime. And I try. Oh, very nice.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's what I look at in the evening. I just wanted to share a little bit of majestic view with you. This is the roof of the building, so, but the skies here, man, that looks great. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I wanted you guys to see that. Yeah, no, Mike Gravel, I'm just a little bit to the left of Mike Gravel, and if you're further left than that, that's even, I'm just so proud of you. We've come so far. The very first time I took that test, I was in between Noam Chomsky and Bernie Sanders.
Okay, so lower libertarian.
Yes, and then a year later, I was to the left of Gravel. I know, it's not on this device. It's on a different device. That's why I'm never going to be able to find it. I just have a billion pictures of my dog.
Yeah. Okay. Next, Venezuela.
Yes, Venezuela. So our wonderful new president decided that he was going to acknowledge Juan Guaido as the president because the National Assembly of Venezuela chose him, not the people in a democratically elected situation as their actual president is. Maduro was democratically elected, and it was a solid election. It wasn't fraudulent. It actually was one of the cleanest elections. I mean, how many countries came to witness and make sure? I think it was like 7 different nations sent their independent groups, and each group had people from other countries. So it wasn't like this country sent their people. It was each group had a coalition of different people, and they all needed to make sure we had people who were on the far right, we had people who were on the far left, we had people in the middle, we had independent, we had non-governmental agencies, all saying the same thing. It was a free and fair and clean election, and he won. And the people of the nation want the empire to stay the fuck out. So what we've done to Cuba is getting even worse now because of these sanctions. Biden is not going to, as far as I know of, as of right now, change anything as far as Cuba, letting oil get in, letting anything get in. So think about that and how we covered that last week. Well, Venezuela is seeing shortages of cancer medicine, of AIDS medicine, of preventative medicine, of lots of prosthetics, prosthetics. When a child loses an arm, or a vet, or for whatever reason needs an updated prosthetic or a new prosthetic, they are not available. So what they're having to do is reuse older ones, which we know are not comfortable. We were always trying to make them better and more comfortable. And the human dignity that we just take from these countries and their people is, heartbreaking. The people of this nation are wonderful, but the ruling class of this nation, not so much. So if that's true here, why can't it be true everywhere or anywhere? And I'm not saying that's true every nation. Some nations have amazing governments that take care of their people. The issue I'm having with the Venezuela issue is by acknowledging Guaido, Biden, you're playing games that will end up in loss of life, of starvation, of, if you don't do what we say and how we say it, and put this person in as president because we agree with it, then we're going to starve your nation. I don't want to be the bully of the planet, and I'm sure, I'm positive the majority of this nation and the people in it agree. We don't want to be the bully. We don't want to hurt people. We don't want to keep medicine from people. Sanctions are warfare, and it's an economic warfare. The reason for them is to make an economy scream. It is to make people be without, so that they think that their government is incapable of being a government, so they must overthrow them. However, whether that takes 5 months, a year, or 12 years, it doesn't matter to the people who are putting those sanctions on. And in those 12 years, how many hundreds of thousands of people are going to die? It's just, I don't know what's the word, fucking unacceptable. So Biden, I mean, I'm already not happy. But when he accepted Guaido, and then one after another of his administration saying, the National Assembly chose him, so that's like if our Congress chose our next president for us. No, but yet they want Venezuela. They're saying, well, it's not democratic. We need it to be democratic, so we're going to acknowledge this person who was appointed instead of democratically elected. People pay attention. It's so frustrating, and my heart goes out to the people who cannot get the medication they need, or the prosthetic leg that they need, or, preventative care. There are medicines that someone with HIV would take every day that would keep them from it turning into AIDS, and also keep it from being able to be passed on if they happen to be pregnant. That's so important. You took that away from them, and now their child, through no fault of their own, is going to be born with it instead of without it, when it's preventative and accessible and not expensive there. Like here, it's super expensive. There, not so much. I think it's like, in countries where it's covered, it ends up being, $8 a month for your script, and a few $100s a pill here. Right. So if you can afford to be healthy, like, I can't even finish that sentence. It's so unhumanistic.
It's nonsensical. Right?
Right.
Because what everyone assumes is that healthcare should be on the market, because paying for healthcare is a marketable thing, and just health shouldn't be like a commodity. It's a necessity, right? But we live in a world economy that says you need to buy water.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's insane. We all need water. Shouldn't have to buy it. And it shouldn't be hoarded by anyone. It's a necessity. Everyone should just have access to clean water. And if we look at water that way, maybe there's a couple other things too, right? Like maybe food, maybe healthcare. And I know we buy food, like we live in a capitalist system. Living in something other than a capitalist system requires a completely different philosophy than what we are used to.
Right. And nobody's saying like completely change it overnight, but there's nothing wrong with implementing tiny things like you don't make enough to feed your family a healthy meal every single day of the month. So let's subsidize that. Here's some help. Shoes. Children, you guys, if you have kids, you know there are certain times of the year where if you buy shoes on Monday, 2 Mondays later, those shoes don't fit anymore. They just grow too fast. And I'm not saying they need $300 pair of Jordans. I'm saying that no child should have to go without shoes. Now there are programs, and I love them, but they are non-governmental programs. Same with medication. If you guys want to hear something that I'm sure we have a very informed crowd, vaccines and medications, those things like that are funded by you and me and my mom and my dad and every one of us through taxes. Our taxes fund the research and everything that goes into creating these medicines and these treatments. And then once they're created, then they're charged. People are charged for them. They've already paid to create them. There's nothing wrong with paying a few bucks for the prescription because there's a system to get it, to market. There's nothing wrong with that, paying the cost of the medicine. However, healthcare should never be for profit, just like prison should never be for profit, because once something becomes profit driven, humanity is out. It's going to be about the bottom line, and that's unacceptable as well. There's a lot of things that we need to work on together as a country. Yes, Mac, I would like to call on Mac, my favorite student.
Yes, I would like to make a point, and you tell me if this is right, Miss Christy. This is why we can't settle for a public option in healthcare, because we're keeping the profit-driven portion of healthcare in there, and all it does is squish the
devil's advocate
humanities.
For the first time. Okay, devil's advocate done by Christy for the first time. Okay, I thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, in a free market where people are able to choose if they are online or calling around and pricing their health care, and the public option is the most affordable and covers the most, more people will join it. And what will happen is after a year or two and results, hey, I really like this, more people will drop out of the profit driven one and join that one. Now, I don't know this for a fact. I'm just going by an educated opinion and what I know about people. People will always try to find the least expensive plan that covers the most. They're willing to pay a little bit more to have better coverage. However, if a public option is available and the public option has, there's 327 million people. Let's say the public option in 5 years from now has 200 million people on it. There's not going to be one private insurance company that can compete with that.
So I agree. And you're going to have to see me rephrase the way I said it.
Okay.
So retract what I said. You can't settle for a public option, in my view, because one of them have to die, right? Like one's gonna try to kill the other, right? And one's a little more bloodthirsty.
And much more wealthy. Yes, I agree. That's the scary part.
Yeah. So, but I mean, Christy's right. Like, if you have a good healthcare system provided by the government, then it can beat out all the competition, and everyone will move towards it, and then nothing will be able to compete. If anything can, it'll be very, very slim pickings, right? Because there's a profit motive. But if they win and it beats out the government healthcare plan, then it goes straight back to profit motive, because it's a private company. That's what it needs to do, because it's capitalist. It will eat the public option eventually. Like, they can't both exist for very long. Like, you can't settle and stay on a public option. You can settle for it and then fight like hell to beat the competition, because the competition is going to try to fucking eat you.
Right.
It's going to try to eat you.
The only way that the public option would win the day is if, like I said, the numbers were on their side. It would take a organizing. It would take getting together and making sure that people, I mean, we can't go door to door, we're in a pandemic, but we can make flyers. And if you live in an apartment complex, write something up saying, hey, this public option, please join it, and do your due diligence so that you have some information on there. Maybe even leave an email so that if someone has any questions. It's going to take mobilization and all of us trying to convince the rest of us that this public option would be the best, because if there's one network, there's not going to ever be a doctor that's not in it. There's just the network. So you would never have to worry about finding a doctor in your network. Again, everybody would be covered, and the same exact healthcare that our senators and our governors and our president gets would be the same as everyone else. Because if the wealthy, I mean like the uber old money wealthy, have the same exact healthcare as the rest of us, how bad is it really going to be? And that's the thought behind healthcare and all other developed countries that provide it as a human right. Was, if we offer the same for everyone, the uber old money wealthy families, they are not going to accept anything less than. And if that's the same healthcare as the single mom who's working 3 jobs, how bad is it really going to be? So as of right now, this is all speculation. America's late to the game. It's not something that I think that, and I've met people in this country, they feel almost like they don't deserve it. Like, oh yeah, but I can't pay that much for it. So you shouldn't pay that much or anything. It should just be part of, at the end of the year when you do your taxes, instead of paying, your say a family of 4, and it ends up being $1,200 for basic insurance at the end of the year through private insurance. Well, at the end of the year through taxes, it'll probably be like $650. So that's cut in half, and you're getting better care. And most families, when they do their taxes, they get that money back. It will just be taken out of that. So you're not even going to have to give them any. It just, there's so much information I want to share with so many people so that they understand. I would love to answer any questions that anybody has about it so that they can understand, so that they won't be scared, so that they don't think, a public option is having Putin come and be your doctor. Like, it's just not that scary. We can do this. We can do this. And you do deserve it. You're a human. You deserve to have preventative care. And I know Nacho Witness said it looks much similar to here, to the way that, you know, they have, everybody has healthcare, but you're also, if you're wealthy enough or willing to pay more for extra, then go for it. There will always be a niche. However, I have something that I feel very strongly about. I think the public option in our healthcare that should be provided for every single citizen should cover everything that has to do with healthcare. And if it is plastic surgery or anything elective, that's what you get your extra insurance for.
Right, elective things.
Elective things. And fine, you have as many elective things as you want. I got you, Nacha. We got 9 minutes. So
and that was me. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, that was Mac. It's hard to pay attention to the chat and that you know, and I suck. So
that's is there anything else we want to go over, touch base on? Is there anything that we want to do next week?
There's something that I'm working on, but I don't know if I want to mention it yet. So yeah, no, I'm not going to mention it yet. It might be a lot of fun. Let's just say that. It won't be tears. It's time to as a humanist channel, I would like to cover a lot of the fucking brilliant, amazing superstar humans that are your everyday heroes, doing things for one reason, because it was the right thing to do. That's it. They need nothing else. They don't want recognition. I want to kind of share a few stories, because don't we all need that? I think I need that.
Yeah.
I think I need that. And I would also like to, there's some in our community that are also doing some, I mean, amazing things. V from the ACA, they are doing some, I mean, amazing activist work. And they have a show called How to Skeptic. It's brilliant. V goes through the steps on how you can be an activist without leaving your home, by certain steps you can take. You have to, of course, have internet, but V is an everyday hero. And I think that we should recognize these people that are doing things, hard things, out of their own time with their own money, for one reason, because it was the right thing to do. And there's also boats out between Italy and Africa that, on their own dime, it takes 10 days to prepare a boat to go out there and save people. And every single time, they're 10 days, a boat's out there for 10 days while one's getting ready for 10 days, and they switch and they switch and they switch. We're talking about people who dedicate, they don't get paid. They have to pay for all of this, the boat, the gas, the everything. That means they have to have a doctor on board. They have to have an EKG on board. They have to have an ultrasound on board. They have to have enough food for at least 150 people on board. They have to have blankets and water. They're out there saving lives. Now that one might make me cry, because nobody else is doing it. And it has to be done. And if you ask any one of them why they're doing it, because somebody has to, because it's the right thing to do. There was one woman treading water with no life vest. She has her baby wrapped in a t-shirt, a baby this big, holding the baby up, treading water for hours, and then would switch and tread water for hours. And if they hadn't shown up, and then you find out that the government has helicopters above, they're witnessing all of this, not doing a goddamn thing. So there are heroes, and I think that that's probably what I will focus on next week. We need some good news. We need to know that there are warriors out there. Ideology be damned. It's about doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I am so down with that. I think that is the human spirit. That's the most humanist thing you could possibly do. The right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love you guys, by the way. I love spending Friday with you guys. I love learning and sharing with you guys. And it's been over 2 years that we've been doing this, and I just look forward to Fridays with you. It's a lot of fun. And Nacha, I just love you so much. Thank you for allowing me an outlet, a platform to be silly, but also share information and grow. Gosh, I've grown so much since our first few shows. I've changed so much. I'm sure you have too. It's been a journey, and a journey in public in front of people. It's kind of brave if I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys. Absolutely. And then I want to say, Deathpool Wilson. Fuck yeah. just love that human. And then there's always one more thing that we always like to say. Say. It's stay humanist for God's sake. For God's sake.